I will present the work that has been done by Working Group 3 in the topic of regenerative construction and operation. And as you may see, there is several members of this working group, so I'm presenting all of our group work. And so the context when we started our working group of our international team in 2018 was to find an answers or to get closer to the answers. How can a building be built and operated in a regenerative way? And how can regenerative principles be integrated in construction and operation process? And how to realize the paradigm shift from the business as usual to regenerative construction process. And the easiest answer is that this can be achieved through integration of restorative and regenerative principles into the construction operation process, and that's it. However, the current state of the art in construction operation do not include or include only partially sustainable or regenerative values. There are a number of gaps, difficulties, barriers, but also opportunities, what we try to find, investigate. And this group focused on sustainable regeneration and construction for buildings, landscape, and infrastructure across the spectrum of sustainability values along the real estate life cycle, this whole life cycle of the urban space. And all relevant interests and interest group must be integrated in the balanced manner. So the key phases where we focused is procurement, considering what follows design stage, and proceeds construction phase, including bidding, tendering, procurement, construction, from preparation of the site up to the management of construction site, including materials and technologies using during the construction process, operation, starting from the commissioning and going through the operation and maintenance of the building, and future life, considering what happening to the building after its preliminary life, including refurbishment, retrofitting, reuse, adaptation, and in worst case, demolition and dismantling. The international research identified three major transformations of construction and real estate industry during the main stages of the life cycle and of the building, from the construction through the operation up to the future life. So built environment and environmental impact can drive the steps towards the regeneration, but identified three set of steps regarding construction strategies, facility management, historic buildings, and existing building stock. Currently, the construction sector is one of the industries generating the greatest environmental impact, including carbon emissions that impacts the climate change. Using regenerative materials and regenerative technologies encourage all stakeholders of the construction sector to move further, shifting from implementing regenerative or less bad strategies to other strategies that could reach net zero carbon emission and even provide positive net environmental impact. There is a shift from classical facility management in one building towards urban facilities management. The importance of usage phase along the life cycle of the built environment and solutions in the sustainable and regenerative management of properties and neighborhoods is needed. Also, facility management during planning and construction is well known. It is still not applied frequently enough. User and operator processes should be considered, simulated, and optimized, including measures that seem simple, such as efficient way of putting new buildings or buildings that have been renovated to their core into operations. Finally, adjusted settings instead of factory settings of the building services like heating and ventilations, not only save energy, but also increase user satisfaction and health. One need to take further steps from classic view in facilities management. the individual building to the neighborhood level or even entire city. Urban facilities management would require a paradigm shift in real estate management, new processes, contractual models in letting and management, and change attitude of owners and investors should be established in order to promote regenerative sustainability. The third step or area is a shift from regenerative drivers only in new buildings towards regenerative drivers in historic buildings and existing building stock. Historic buildings and environments can become a driver for regenerative sustainability. The heritage adoption is an effective strategy to trigger climate change action and community resilience while meeting the UN 2030 agenda for sustainable development. Building environment built environment professions are urged to reflect on the potential impacts on heritage building, which may already be subject to strong pressure and risks related to decades, lack of maintenance, and redundancy, on top of other vulnerabilities such as hydrogeological instability, depopulations, abandonment following catastrophic natural events. Following the mentioned 3 steps, which are described in the Working with 3 booklet, trained in training school and established the Restorative network. So, using regenerative materials and regenerative technologies, and encourage all stakeholders of the construction sector to move further, shifting from implementing regenerative or less bad strategies to other strategies that could provide a positive net environmental impact. The cost action restore contribution to restore regenerative procurement proposes how to build bridge for transition between the regenerative design vision and the realization of that vision. The procurement process can be seen as an invaluable tool to raise awareness and force change through the supply chain. Early contractor involvement is a critical approach where a contractor's skills are introduced early into a project to bring regenerative sustainability and design buildability and cost efficiency to the pre-construction phase. It is essential to establish collaborative principles as early as possible. Continuing aspects for regenerative procurement, value management and value engineering exercise might make the world a better place. And bidding a regenerative and sustainable cost model that was developed within this working group process. As you might see, there is a revised approach of value management, and this regenerative sustainability cost model, and there was introduced MUDA, the Japanese term, identifying several forms of waste, like transport, inventory, motion, dating, any type of waste or overproduction, and skills that are central to lean these management systems. There were developed two pre-qualification questionnaire to raise awareness and force change through the supply chain. So you can find these two in very details in the working group booklet. In the field of how to incorporate regenerative sustainability through 3 key aspects of the construction process, materials, technologies, and tools. It was, there was identified barriers, challenges, and opportunities. The working group developed a survey to understand the current situation of sustainability in the construction sector, and also to identify the challenges and maybe difficulties of implementing sustainable construction in Europe. And advanced and emerging materials and technologies actually are poorly used within the construction sector, as very few respondents claim to use them in more than half of the projects. These materials and technologies have a higher rate of application in new building construction rather than in building renovation. And the recommendations was to increase awareness and knowledge among construction actors of the different possible regenerative materials, tools, and technologies, develop guidelines and manuals, develop specific regulations to promote the construction of regenerative buildings, and efficient economic incentives. The Restore contribution to regenerative operation and maintenance is how facility management can preserve and regenerate the built environment. There are proposed 3 steps from regenerative new building drivers towards the regenerative drivers of historic buildings and existing building stock. Step 1 would be integration of facility management during planning and construction. User and operator processes should be considered in early stages. During operation, step 2, adjusted settings of the building services, like heating and ventilation, not only save energy, but also increase user satisfaction and health. Step 3, shift from classic view of in-facility management or the individual building to the neighborhood level or even entire city. There were proposed social, ecological, and economical targets of regenerative facilities management, developed guidelines for change to regenerative operations, maintenance, and use. And as you may see, there is like a table how to revise thinking and how to revise the paradigm. Restore contribution to future circular life was by revising paradigms and concepts of human minds and habits of future circular construction process. It was considered, is there possibility to think in direction of setting buildings that can learn and understanding the rhythm of the place. The concepts that building users use buildings until they are worn out are no longer usable and challenged by the application of range of innovation regenerative initiatives, including circular economy, cradle to cradle, and buildings as material banks. Regenerative constructions and operations towards more historic and existing building stock are considered in 2 steps. Step 1, adaptation to avoid potential negative impacts on heritage buildings, which might already be subject to strong pressure and risks related to decay, lack of maintenance, redundancy, on top of other climatic vulnerabilities. Steps 2, rethink the concept of existing building as a resource from all urban minds for new buildings. For the future life, for the future circular life, there was investigated more deeper how to reduce waste, how to reuse waste, and how to use waste as a resource, how to use it as a mine, how to push for implementation of circular economy thinking, how to reimagine waste futures. And thank you.